Welcome. In this playthrough of Marvel Champions, a card game, we have my first play with Nova and Ironheart taking on Rhino. So down at the table for setup, since this is my first time playing those, I figured we'd try to see what they're capable of doing. So going up against Rhino, keeping it simple. So for this, we're using the Rhino card, standard, and instead of Bomb Scare, I'm bringing in the Zack set that came with Ironheart. So on the other side, this just has one main scheme, so threshold of 7 per player. If we get past that, we've lost the game. Rhino's going to start with a scheme of 1, attack of 2, and 14 health per player. So Nova has a thwart of 1, attack of 1, defense of 2, response after you use one of Nova's basic powers, ready supernova helmet, hand size of 5, and 10 hit points, and I'm using just their pre-construction decks on this. Alter Ego, recovery of 3. As an action, spend a resource of any type, search your deck and discard pile for Supernova Helmet, add it to your hand, put it into play instead if you paid for this ability using a wild resource, and a hand size of 6 on that size. Then for Ironheart, she has 3 forms. We're starting with version 1. Thwart of 1, attack of 2, defense of 3, level up. As an action, remove 6 progress counters from Ironheart, ready her, and swap her with version 2. Hand size of 4, 10 hit points. And on our Alter Ego side, recovery of 3. Begin the game with this card, set your other identities aside. Child Prodigy, as an action, spend a mental resource, place a progress counter on this card. Hand size of 6 in her Alter Ego form. All right, all done but the shuffling. Get her encounter deck ready. And then for Ironheart, shuffling up, starting with 6 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right, Cloud9, a 3-cost ally, 4-cost ally. Go L out, requirement, energy, exhaust your hero, deal damage to an enemy equal to total over thwart, attack, and defense values. Photon Blaster gives us +2 health, exhaust it to deal damage to an enemy equal to our version number. Good with that. Photon Beam, deal 4 damage to an enemy and place a progress counter on Ironheart. 2 counters instead if it defeats that enemy. Good with that. And then, well, we've got some expensive cards here. I like that for the mental to help pay for that. And we'll keep an ally just in case. So we'll pitch the other 2 allies that we couldn't afford to play. Got some jets, another +2 hit points. Exhaust it to remove threat from a scheme equal to our version number. And a flyover. Remove 3 threat from a scheme. Place a progress counter on it. 2 instead if we removed all the threat from that scheme. And then for Nova, getting 6 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right. Lightspeed Flight. Double the number of wild resources generated while playing for this. Remove 3 threat from a scheme. Definitely don't need those. Chase them down. After your hero attacks and defeats an enemy, remove 2 threat from a scheme. Not needed. But only if your identity has an aerial trait. After your hero attacks, deal 4 damage to an enemy. That's useful at least. Deal 2 damage to an enemy. If this attack defeats it, deal 2 more damage. Not really useful. Power of aggression. I mean, honestly, we'll just keep that and draw 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Everyday Hero. While your identity has the civilian trait, this card can be spent for any player and against attack's response. If you spend this card for a player, heal damage from that player's identity. Not useful now. Pot Shot. Double the number of wild resources generated while playing for this card to deal 4 damage. Nice. Connection to the World Mind does not count towards our hand size. So get another card. Chase them down. Not needed. Pitch back. We pitched that earlier. And a Pot Shot. All right, here, we're going to pitch a mental resource to give us our first counter. Then go ahead and flip over. Then we'll do a Photon Beam, deal 4 damage to an enemy, place a progress counter on Ironheart. So down to 24. Get a second token. While I got this in hand, we'll attack for 2, down to 22. And yeah, we're stuck with 2 2-cost cards in our hand that we can't play. So over here, we're going to spend a wild resource so we can go find our helmet and put it into play. Here we go. So as a hero resource, exhausted to generate a wild resource, also gives us the aerial trait. We'll go ahead and flip over. All right, we're going to use a wild resource there. So double the number of wild resources generated. Hero action, deal 4 damage to an enemy. Down to 18. Then we will attack for 1, which is going to ready our helmet. Then we will spin that again to deal 4 damage to an enemy. Down to 13. Before the other one, after we attacked, do hero attacks, deal 4 damage to an enemy. We'll go ahead and do that. Down to 9, so throwing out some damage for sure. And go ahead and end our turn. We're going to keep these so this doesn't count against our hand size. So power of aggression, pitch back 1 by 1. Deal 2 damage to an enemy. If this defeats an enemy, deal 2 more damage out. The Locust, and Unleash Nova Force. So that's your 5 cards, plus our 1. Over here, we only get 4 cards. We're going to keep both of these. Go all out, and Ronnie Williams. All right, Rhino, 2 threat. Attacking over here, we're going to defend. Base 2 attack, 3 damage, and we're fine. Attacking over here, we'll take it for 1, 2, 3, 4 damage. Down to 6 health. And counter cards. Let's see, Rhino attacks you. If the character is damaged by this attack, the character is stunned. Oh, guess we're going to get stunned, take some damage here. 1, 2, 3 damage. Down to 7. And stunned. And over here, the villain attacks you. We will defend this time. 1, 2, 3 damage, so end up taking 1 down to 5 health. So that did not go well for us. I'll look through my discard pile here. We're going to bring in the Locust. Thwart a 1, attack of 1, 2 health. Play only if your identity has a champion trait, which we do. After Locust enters play, add a 1 aggression event from your discard pile to your hand. Pitchbacks, chase them down. Guess 1 by 1 we can actually use. All right, attacking for 1, down to 8. And we'll use that. 1 by 1, deal 2 damage to an enemy. If this attack defeats that enemy, deal 2 damage to another one. It's not, just taking it down to 6. Then we'll do it again for another 2 damage. And in his turn over here, we are just going to flip over. Discard a mental to get a counter. Then bring in Ronnie Williams. Hate pitching the blasters to do it, but we are. Alter Ego action, Exhauster to either heal 2 damage from our character or place a progress counter on Riri. We're going to place a counter. And end our turn. Let's see, we'll go ahead and discard that. This doesn't count against our hand size, so Hone Technique, Jesse Alexander, another Hone Technique, Force Field Projection, and no quarter. We're going to keep that, drawing 5 more. New and approved, Stroke of Genius, Snow Guard, Go for Champions, and Ingenuity. So 2 threat up to 4. Scheming here for base 1. If you have at least 2 energy resources in your hand, put Zaz into play engaged with you. We only have 1, fortunately. So scheme for 1, attacking over here. Locust defends. 1, 2, 3 damage. Locust goes away. I guess the attack would have been over here first and then over here. So we didn't have the energy on this side for him to come into play. And then the scheme over here would have added 1 more. All right, counter cards. Breaking and taking. When revealed, place an additional threat here. So that's coming in with 1 per player. 4 threat. And give Rhino a tough status card. If he already has 1, this card gains Surge. And pass first player. All right, we're going to pitch a mental resource to gain a token. Then exhaust to gain a token. Then exhaust to heal 3, up to 10. Go ahead and flip over. Spend 6. So by spending 6, ready her and swap her with her version 2. So we're coming in ready, thwart 2, attack of 2, and 3 health. So still need to remove 6, ready her, give her tough status, and swap her with version 3. Hand size is now 5 in hero form. And first time playing, I'm going to take a little bit back. Ingenuity. Play only if your identity has a genius trait. So before I would have flipped. I could have played this. We're a genius in that form. To bring that in, max 1 per player. Resource exhausted to generate a mental resource. So we could have played that first, then flipped over, then swapped everything out. What we're going to do here is attack to get rid of stunned. Actually, no, we're not. Thwart's a problem. We're going to thwart for 2. Then use Ingenuity along with Stroke of Genius to bring in our jets. Gives us +2 hit points, so we're up to 12. Exhaust, remove threat from a scheme equal to Ironheart's version number. We're now version 2. Well, before we actually use that, it comes in after you spin this card, place a progress counter on your identity and draw a card. Drawing in a Tony Stark AI, then use that to remove 2 threat. Then we're done for her turn. And we're going to use that wild to help bring in Jesse Alexander. As an alter ego action, exhaust, shuffle a copy of Connection to the World Mind from your discard pile into your deck and draw a card. Then we're going to attack for 1 to get rid of tough. No, we're going to thwart for 1, which will ready that. Then use that to help pay for Hone Technique. So we need 2 mentals. We can have 3 if we need it. Max 1 per player when you play an aggression attack event. If you paid for that event using a mental resource, increase the amount of damage that event deals by its printed cost. And I'm half afraid to flip because of where the threat's at, so we're just going to end our turn. I'm going to keep this card, drawing 4 more. Champion's Mobile Bunker, another Hone Technique, Fluid Motion, and Miss Marvel. We'll go ahead and keep our Tony Stark AI. So we've got a Sector Scan, Morale Boost, another boost, and a Photon Beam. So 2 threat. Getting attacked here, we're going to defend a base 2, 3, 4. So we end up taking 1. And attacking over here, we're going to defend base 2, 3 damage coming our way. So we end up taking 1. And counter cards. Villain Schemes for 1, 2. So we're at 9. And discard and upgrade or support you control. If no cards were discarded this way, this card gains Surge. Nope, I think that's Going to be Jesse Alexander and pass first player. All right, we're going to bring in Miss Marvel. After you play an event, exhaust her, deal a damage to her, return that event to your hand. Then thwarting for 1. Feel like I need to flip over. So exhaust her, move 2 threat. We're going to play an attack card, which will get rid of stunned. Use Ingenuity for Tony Stark AI. Exhaust it, look at the top 2 cards of your deck, add 1 to your hand, and discard the other. So we'll go ahead and do that. Helicarrier can come to her hand. And end her turn. Go ahead and discard that over here. So 6 cards. Fluid Motion, Lightspeed Flight, Moon Girl, 1 by 1, Everyday Hero, and No Quarter. We're going to keep that. Hand size is 5, Stroke of Genius, Push Ahead, Ingenuity, and Power of Leadership. All right, 2 threats. Scheming over here for 3. So 11 out of 14. Attack over here will defend for 1, 2, 3, 4. Take a damage. And counter cards. Haywire, attach to your identity. Treat the printed resource of each card in your hand as if it were energy. Hero action, choose to either discard a card you control with a printed energy resource or take 2 indirect damage to discard this. And attached to Rhino, +1 attack, spend 3 physical resources to discard it. It's got an enhanced ivory horn. Pass first player. All right, we're going to start by using that. We'll put Patriot in our hand and discard Morale Boost. Then using Ingenuity, Stroke of Genius, and that we'll bring in a Helicarrier, exhaust it, choose a player, reduce the resource cost of the next card they play this phase by 1. And that's going to let us place a progress counter on our identity and draw a card. Into Brawn. We'll use that to remove 2 threat. We're going to bring in the Patriot. Thwarted 2, attack of 1 for health. Hero response. After Patriot enters play, choose a champion character. That character gets +1 to each of its basic powers until the end of the round. And we'll choose Miss Marvel. And then we're going to thwart for 2, because that's where we're in trouble. Taking 2 damage there. Then she will thwart for 2 with her little bonus. Let's see. We're going to recover for 3 up to 7. Flip over. It's a hero action. Discard an energy to discard Haywire. Wild resource, doubling that, remove 3 threat from a scheme. It's a hero action. Then we're going to bring in Moon Girl, thwarted 2, attack for 2, 3 health. Play only if your identity has a champion or genius trait. We are a champion. After you play Moon Girl from your hand, draw a card for each mental resource used to pay for. And we're using 2. So drawing into a Fluid Motion and a Pot Shot. We also played Everyday Hero. While your identity has a civilian trait, we don't have, so never mind on that. And then thwarting for 2. And ending her turn. All right, we're going to keep Brawn over on her side. We'll keep Pot Shot. So 4 more cards. 1, 2, 3, 4. Unleash Nova Force. Projection. No quarter. Connection to the world doesn't count against her hand size. So 1 more card. Into Power of Aggression. Over here we get 4 more cards. Push ahead. Power of Leadership, Vivian, and another push ahead. So 2 threats. Attacking over here with a base 3 attack. Patriot's going to defend and go away. Attacking over here. Moon Girl is going to defend and go away. And counter cards. He's got charge, so when Rhino attacks, the attack gains overkill. Excess damage is dealt to the ally's controller. At the end of this attack, discard this. So he's attacking for a whole lot next time. And Rhino heals 4 damage. If no damage was healed this way, gains surge. So up to 8. So it's been a while since we've hit him. Pass first player. Well, program Miss Marvel attack to get rid of Tough. And no quarter, using those as physical, deal 4 damage to an enemy. No excess damage there. So down to 4 health. We'll use that for the pot shot, doubling the wild resources to pay for it to deal 4 damage to an enemy, which will defeat this version. So now Rhino is a 1/3. Search the encounter deck and discard pile for breaking and taken and reveal it. And 15 health per player, so up to 30 health. Seen that yet? Yes, we did. How could I forget? So it's coming in with 4 threat. Then we'll go ahead and thwart for 1. And we're going to flip over because of the charge that's on its way. All right, over here, we're going to push ahead. Requirement is a mental. We'll use the 2 wilds for that. Exhaust your hero, remove threat from a scheme equal to the total of your hero's thwart, attack, and defense values. So we could be removing 7 threat, but it's just going to be 4. Then use that to remove this threat. Then make our next card 1 cheaper, and Ingenuity to help pay for Vivian. Thwart a 2, attack of 1. After she enters play, choose an attachment, non-elite minion, or non-permanent side scheme. Till the end of the round, treat that card's printed text box as if it were blank. And don't believe the pluses count as the text box, so we're not going to do... we'll treat this one as blank. Actually, before we bring her in, we're going to use this action. Let's see, Photon Beam or Fly Over. We'll discard that and keep this. We're going to Photon Beam. Use the nose to pay for it. Deal 4 damage to an enemy. Place a progress counter on Ironheart. So up to 3. Down to 26. And we're going to go ahead and flip over, discard a mental resource, and use that to put another one there. And end her turn. So over here, we're going to discard a card, just keeping that doesn't count against our hand size. Drawing 1 into Everyday Hero. Which gets us an counter card and shuffle. So 5 more cards coming. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Champions Mobile Bunker, Everyday Hero, Pot Shots, and the Locust. Got some healing coming up if needed. Keeping Brawn, hand size of 6, new and approved. Ingenuity, R&D facility, another facility, and another facility, and another encounter card. All right. We get 2 threats. Scheming here for 3. Scheming here for 4. And counter cards. Attach your identity. Treat the printed resource of each card in your hand as energy. So haywire again, we need to discard a printed energy resource or take 2 indirect damage to get rid of that. Let's see, when revealed, take indirect damage equal to total number of energy resources in your hand. If your identity was dealt 1 or fewer damage, gain surge. Well, it's not, because every card in our hand now has that symbol. And we have 7 cards in our hand, so we're taking 7 damage, which is enough to wipe him out. Well, sorry, Sam, you're out of here. We'll set you off to the side. And you can watch from your hospital bed. Over here, the villain schemes for base 1, 2, 3. Which takes us to 12. And then Sandman comes in, scheme of 2, attack 3, 4 health, and toughness. So we've got some serious problems over here. All right, we're going to start with this. Looking at 2 cards and discarding 1. Then we are going to discard this to take this to 6. Then alter ego action, heal 2 damage from her, so she'll go to 12 because the jets take us up that far. Then we'll go ahead and flip over and remove 6 progress counters from her. Let's see, we can ready her. We'll do something first. We'll attack to get rid of tough. Then spend our 6 counters. So ready her, give her a tough status card, and swap her with version 3. All right, version 3. Remove a counter from her to deal 2 damage to an enemy. 4 to 3 attack 2 and 3 defense. She's ready and tough. Exhaust that to remove 3 threat. We will use these. Let me just flip this over. So next one cheaper, paid a resource. Hold off on that. So I'll attack for 2. Helicarrier, Ingenuity, another Ingenuity. New and approved. Hero action, choose X different options where X is equal to Ironheart's version number. Search your deck for an Ironheart card and add it to your hand, then shuffle. We're going to get a tough status card. Can't have more than 1. Then ready Ironheart. So we're getting a card of our choice. Maybe a flyover. Or do we want blasters? We're going to take the blasters. So bringing in the blasters, +2 health, up to 14. As an action, exhaust it, deal damage to an enemy equal to our version number, which is now 3. We're going to attack for 2 to get rid of Sandman. And then 3 damage, down to 23 health. And end her turn. I'm going to keep Brawn. So sector scanner, hand size of 6. Go all out. Ingenuity, Agent 13, and a morale boost. Get 2 threat. Because the per player is the number of players that started the game, so we're up to 11. Getting attacked for a bunch, so 7 damage, we lose tough. Getting a counter card. Give Rhino a tough status. All right, that went pretty good for us. Back to our turn. That is discarded. All right, use those to reduce the cost of the next card by 2. We're going to bring in Agent 13, 4 to 2, attack of 1, 4 health. After she attacks or thwarts, choose a shield support and ready that support. She's going to come in and attack for 1 to to get rid of toughness. I'm going to use this ability, fly over or push ahead. I want to push ahead. All right, requirement is a mental. We'll use that for one. Need to swap these out. So we've got a mental in here. Exhaust your hero, remove threat from a scheme equal to the total of your hero's thwart, attack, and defense values. So that's going to be 8. So we're going to have 3 left, and we can use the jets to remove that 3. Then that for 3 damage, down to 20. Then we're going to flip over, exhaust to put a counter on, and ender turn. Keeping Brawn again. Go all out, go all out. Stroke of Genius, Photon Beam, and the Patriot. So 2 threats. Scheming for base 1, 2, 3. Get an acceleration token and shuffle. Then we get an encounter card. Discard an upgrade or support you control. We'll go with the jets. Let me read something here. Remove a progress counter from Ironheart, deal 2 damage to an enemy. It's not limited to how many times that can happen. So we're going to give a counter. Discard a mental to get another counter. Look at our top 2 cards. We'll keep Photon Beam. Go ahead and flip over, deal 3 damage, down to 17. So going all out, requirement is an energy. Exhaust your hero, deal damage to an enemy equal to total of your thwart, attack, and defense values, which is 8. Down to 9 health. Photon Beam, deal 4 damage to an enemy, place a progress counter on Ironheart. So down to 5. Get another token. And then remove a progress counter from Ironheart to deal 2 damage to an enemy. 2, 4, 6 is going to be enough to take it to -1. And we could have done 2 more and attacked for another 1. So that is Ironheart and Nova making a special appearance to take on a standard Rhino. So quick thoughts from my first play. The precon decks are a little slow to get started, especially for him. A lot of his cards are conditional on defeating things, and he just didn't have things happening. But just taking 7 damage while you're in alter ego form is definitely a rarity. So it was neat to go through that process, but definitely started out the game powerful. It's got a lot of ways to do damage. I love the building up process, but of course that does take some time. So in an expert game, might not be as beneficial, but I like the process there and getting to the end, definitely dealing a lot of damage. So as always, hope you enjoyed this playthrough. So please click on the like button below and be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching.